Okay, guys, let's look at number 15. Oral polio virus vaccine should be stored at a temperature not to exceed 46 degrees Fahrenheit. So we want it to be 46 or below. What is the temperature in centigrade? Centigrade is another way to say Celsius. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Just remember that on your temperature conversions, I recommend using 9C is equal to 5F minus 160. And then you would just plug in your 46 degrees Fahrenheit here and solve the problem. I do have my answers posted in the files if you need help with the algebra there, or you can feel free to contact me. I'm going to move on for the sake of time on videoing. All right, number 16. You have a prescription for amoxicillin, 125 milligrams, 3 times a day for 10 days. How many milliliters of amoxicillin, 250 milligram per 5, do you need to fill this prescription to last the full days? Very, very typical problem. I will say over the last several years, doctors have gotten really good about knowing what amoxicillin comes in oral suspension, and they will normally not make you do this much work. However, sometimes in the ER physicians or hospital physicians will write it this way, and you'll kind of have to know how to convert it. First off, let's figure out, let's get this per 1. It'll just kind of make it easier to figure out what the dose is going to be, or how many meals are going to take each time. And then we can go from there to figure out how much we're going to need for 10 days. So if I take 250 and divide it by 5, that's going to tell me that my what I have in stock that I'm going to have to dispense from is 50 milligrams per milliliter. Okay, so the doctor wants them to take 125 milligrams. So we got to figure out how many milliliters that is. So if you take 125, that's what we need, and I'm going to divide it by what I have, I get 2.5 milliliters. So I'm going to tell in my SIG, I'm going to tell my patient to take 2.5 milliliters, or half of a teaspoon, 3 times a day for 10 days. So let's figure out how many I'm going to need for 10 days. I'm going to tell my patient to take 2.5 milliliters, 3 times a day, so times 3, and then I get 7.5. So the patient's going to take 7.5 milliliters every day, and they're going to take that for a total of 10 days. So I'm going to multiply 7.5 times 10, my daily dose, times my days, which is 10 days. So I'm going to need to dispense a total of 75 milliliters. Okay, number 17. I've got a dose is written, the patient's going to take 10 milligrams for every kilogram they weigh every 8 hours for 1 day. The adult that's going to take this weighs 145 pounds. How much drug in milligrams will be needed to fill this order? First thing I need to do is get my weight here, 145 pounds. I'm going to divide that by 2.2. And that gets me, I believe, 65.9 kilograms. Okay. They're going to take 10 milligrams for every kilogram they weigh. So let's multiply that times 10, which gets me 659. I think if you were to leave it in your calculator, I think I rounded up here, it's like 0.09 or something. So they're going to take 659 milligrams every 8 hours for 1 day. So this is every 8 hours. And they'll get you on this. You have to watch every 8 hours for 1 day. So how many 8 hours are there in 24? Well, 8 times 3 is 24. So they're going to take 3 doses in 24 hours. So I'm going to multiply that times 3. And when I take 659.09 times 3, I get a number like 1,977.27 milligrams. And that's total for that 24-hour period. So that would be number 17. 18, how much medication would be needed for the following order? Prednisone, 10 milligrams. 1 4 times a day for 4 days. 1 3 times a day for 2 days. 1 twice a day for 1 day, and then stop. Okay, so I just have to kind of break these up. Okay, we're going to take 1, let's say the first day, or the first set of directions. We're going to take 1 pill 4 times a day for 4 days. Well, 1 times 4 is 4 times 4 is 16. Did I do that right? 1 4 times a day. So I'm going to take 4 pills. Yeah, so 16 the first set of days. And then I'm going to take 1 3 times a day for 2 days. Well, 1 times 3 is 3 times 2 is 6. And then I'm going to take 1 twice a day for 1 day. So 1 times 2 is 2 times 1 is 2. And then I'm going to stop. So now I have to add these up. 16 plus 6 plus 2. 16 plus 2 is 8. No, I'm sorry. 6 plus 2 is 8. Plus 16 gets me 24. So I'm going to need to dispense 24 tablets. And I've just written all over my next problem. Okay, it says, what should be the last number of this DEA number? I'm going to rewrite that. AB 431762. Well, they don't tell us the doctor's last name to check that. They just kind of want to know the numbers. Remember, I take my first, third, and fifth. So let's do that. 4 plus 1 plus 6. And that equals 11. And then I take my second, fourth, and sixth, which is 3 plus 7 plus 2, which is 12. Remember, I have to double this number or multiply times 2, which gets me 24. Now that I have the sum of both of these, I take 11 and 24 and add them together, and I get 35. Remember, my number in my ones place is what this last number should be, so that number should be 5. Okay, I'm going to stop the video there, and I will do another part.